Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruver. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Kathy Gruver.
And I'm Jason Mefford. And we're liking doing these little question things. So you never know, we might have a lot more, but again, with everything that we do on here, right? Because we have your interest at heart. We do these podcasts because we love doing them, but we love sharing and know that as you listen, right, your life gets better because you're learning things, you're going to pick up some things from what we're talking about. And what you learn may even not at all be related to what we're talking about, but there's something that you will get out of every episode. So it's fun. So again, regardless of what we're talking about, just listen so you can receive what you need to hear today. So we're going to do another question. So this one comes again from the vulnerability is sexy, break the ice part. So yeah, so we love playing games here too in our family. So, but yeah, this is one that we'll probably be pulling out to play with other people too. But so here's the question, Kathy. Share your first vivid memory from childhood.
Yeah, this is going to reveal a lot about me. So I literally was just talking to a client about old toys that we had in the 70s. And Jason, I know we're kind of the same age, aren't we? Do you remember those like blow up big clowns that you'd punch and they'd fall down and stand up? Okay, so I had
one of those.
I did too. And I got a Bozo the Clown. It was a punching bag thing. It was tall. The thing was like 5 feet tall, and you'd punch it, and it had a weighted bottom, so it would go weeble, and they would stand back up, and you'd hit it, and it would fall down. So I got one of those for Christmas. And several weeks after Christmas, and I remember I was in little jeans and my little red Keds, my pigtails, and I was playing with the clown. And because I was an only child, everything to me, I anthropomorphized everything, right? So I'm having a whole conversation with this clown, and I decided it was time for the clown to go to sleep. So I laid the clown down, and it stood back up, and I started to get very frustrated with said clown. So then I laid it down, and I stood on it, and I put a blanket on top, thinking that would happen. And of course, it shot up, and the blanket went flying across the room. So I went to my dad's tool bench, and I got a screwdriver, and I stabbed it.
And that was the end of Bozo the Clown.
He slept. It was a long sleep. And I was thinking back to that, and I'm like, so my parents either had one or two responses, and I don't remember what they did. Either they were like, holy crap, that was the most clever thing ever. Like a 5-year-old or 4-year-old figured out that it was inflated and that if I stabbed it, it would go to sleep. Or they thought, oh shit, our daughter's a sociopath. I mean, so those were the two choices. But I thought it was very clever that I thought to like puncture it to make it lay down. So yeah, that was one of my very first memories.
Well, and it's interesting because again, it's, for most of us, and I mean, this is just the way our brain works, right? Is it through the first 7 to 9 years, something like that, as our brain is developing, we kind of lose a lot of the memories, at least consciously, before that time. So it's typically, difficult for us to remember some things. And so that's why it's always interesting for me. Like, I mean, it's kind of a random one, but I would have only been 4 years old, right, at the time. And I remember, sitting in, well, and I'm trying to remember exactly which room it was. Well, yeah, okay, it must have been downstairs in our basement, watching TV when Jimmy Carter was inaugurated as president. And I remember, again, random, my dad making some comment about, I can't believe that guy is our next president, or whatever kind of thing, right? It's like, as a little kid, I didn't know anything, right?
Sure.
But I had to have been only 4 at that time, but I remember that. And, again, it probably had some subconscious programming on myself as well, because that was just an example of some indoctrination of my parents' political views that made it into me, right? And so it's Well, it's interesting actually that we're going here, because here's a little learning lesson, I guess, too, right? Is that so for a while, growing up, and especially, maybe early adulthood, I I always had this subconscious thing about Jimmy Carter being like this guy who doesn't deserve to be president. He doesn't know what he's doing, whatever kind of thing, right? But the more that I've come to learn about him, who he is, the man he is,
Mhm.
what he was thrown into as president at that time, and I have a tremendous amount of love and respect for that man now,
Mhm.
and for what he tried to do as a president that was very hard because of the situation that we were in the world at the time, but even more so for what he's done in the background
Mhm.
the rest of his life that nobody knows about.
Yeah. And he's still alive.
He's still alive. He's one of the most influential behind the scenes people that has probably done more good for this world than
Uh,
most people have. So interesting. So there's a little takeaway in there too about some of the
yeah.
programmings and stuff too.
Yours was so much more important than mine.
Well, no.
Uh,
It's just, like I said, it always just, but see, there's things to learn behind yours too,
yeah.
right?
Resourcefulness,
The resourcefulness with
problem
it.
solving.
Uh-huh.
Why I don't like clowns now. No, I actually was a clown for a while. No, I really was. It was not one of my best moments. No, but and thinking back, just thinking back about memory, especially young childhood memories, they're often, I mean, there's some reason we remember those things, right? I mean, like I remember running down the stairs to bring something to my parents and I tripped and fell down the stairs. I remember walking over to my dad's workbench where there was a razor blade and not knowing what it was and slicing my finger. So it's like
Ooh.
normally those memories, especially young, are triggered because it's something traumatic, scary, painful, or so joyous, right? Typically is high emotion for those younger memories. So for some reason, you hearing your dad, maybe it was the tone of whatever he said about Jimmy Carter, that for some reason stuck with you. The same way me stabbing the clown. So I don't know if I got in trouble and that's why I remember that. I don't know if I was so proud of myself so I got in trouble. I don't know if I thought it was funny. I don't know if I was upset because I'm shit now it won't stand up.
Yeah.
I kind of think it was that.
There were a lot of emotions going on, I think with that.
Yeah, I mean, I solved my problem, then I realized, oh shoot, I just broke my toy.
Yeah.
So that was probably not a good feeling as a little kid. So, but it's so fascinating if we look back, and we talked about this before of what we did as a kid, the things that we thought and what we played as, influence us later. So yeah, interesting. It's such an interesting question.
Yeah, because a lot of it does, and when you kind of chart it out, because like I said, there's different things. I've been doing some, it's not necessarily childhood work, but some things about around some writings and some things that I'm doing from earlier memory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing when you start to look at some of those different things that do come to your mind, and you start kind of charting them down, the time period when it's happening, what was I learning, what were the emotions that I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You can see, so it's become clear for me, as an example, why I do or do not do certain things as an adult because of some of those things. There's some themes that I can see through that. Now, again, it's things that are good about me, but it's also some things that I might want to change too.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because those themes keep showing up and showing up and showing up as we go back and look at it. And again, it's not to try to jump into it, deal with all the emotions or other stuff like that at the time, unless you need to go through that, again, through hypnotherapy, talk therapy, whatever other modality you want to use to try to work through some of that stuff, if you need to work through it. But I found it especially helpful, right, in understanding why I'm the way I am now.
Yeah. Well, and that's such an important question to ask, because I have clients that have, when I'm doing coaching with them, they have limited beliefs. They will say, well, I shouldn't do this, or it's the shitting all over ourselves thing, right? That so often isn't our belief system. So I'll ask the question, well, is this your belief? Is this your thought, or is this something that you were told as a kid? Is this something that was drilled into you by your parents? Is this something you overheard every night at the dinner table? Is this, we're really influenced by that sort of stuff. So it's important to sort of suss out what is your belief system and your goals, and what do you really want? And what is that programming from society, parents? Did you hear your entire life, I can't wait to have grandchildren, you've got to have grandchildren, and now you feel forced to have a child because it's like, well, that's the thing you're supposed to do. I have that conversation all the time with people. Why do you want children? Well, my mom said that she wanted it. Well, okay, but what do you want? And so I think often that gets blended of what we're sort of programmed with as a kid and an adolescent, and what is actually our belief system now. So it's good to ask these questions.
Well, yeah, because I would say, and again, you've seen this from people you've worked with, and so have I. I don't know what the percentage is, 80, 90% of our belief systems are somebody else's programming of us. It's not actually even us of what we want. It's a lot of times those things that were kind of programmed into us.
Yeah.
Right. So again, even just back to the Jimmy Carter thing, right? I mean, it wasn't explicitly said, but it was kind of, my family was from a certain political party, and it was kind of expected that that's what you believed, and that's how you voted as well, right? And the more I thought about it and realized, and I mean, I'm really apolitical now anyway, but I tend to because you have to, bipartisan thing, you got to vote for somebody, right?
Right.
But it's the waking up, and like you said, of deciding, well, am I doing it just because it's what I think somebody else expects, or what's been programmed of what's acceptable?
Yep.
Or is it really what I am, what I want to do, who I want to be? And sometimes it can be scary, because you do end up, sometimes having to walk away from things or do other stuff associated with it. But it's so much more freeing to just realize that the choices you're making are the choices you want to make.
Yeah. Not what someone else expects.
Not what somebody else expects.
Well, asking those questions, where did that come from? Why do I believe that? Why do I think that? And think for yourself. Cool. And we just hit our 12 minutes.
There we go. We're good. Hey, man.
Hey.
Do my
So go out,
thing.
deflate a clown. No, don't deflate a clown.
Don't deflate a clown, but those were really good for taking anger out.
Yeah.
As well, if you were mad, or a punching bag.
I did.
Yeah.
Apparently I took my anger out. Screwdriver. Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. Have you upgraded to an ice pick now? Or are you still using a screwdriver?
No, it's the screwdriver. Yeah, I'm a classic. I don't want to. I'm not fancy. No. All right. We should end now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Kathy. I'm afraid to give my website now. I'm Kathy Gruver. I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out, have a great week, and we will see you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth